Margo, lovely to see you. I think we met in DEMA in Las Vegas quite some years ago.
I think it was quite a few years ago, yes.
Yeah, oh,
It's
too
nice to
many,
see you again.
too many to remember. So, where are you based right now?
Our corporate office is in Columbia, South Carolina.
Ah, lovely. It sounds warm at the moment.
It is really warm. I think because we've got Hurricane, is it Nikki off the coast right now?
Ah,
So we've been getting quite a few of the little tailwinds and things, but it's really eerily warm right now.
yeah, it's the same here in the UK. I mean, we're just way above our seasonal temperatures. It's just global warming is really showing itself now. So yeah,
I
um,
would say I would agree because in South Carolina, we're growing banana trees in the backyard quite well, and that's first.
wow. Margaret, I'm just looking at your website, Family Dive Adventures and Kids Sea Camp, and I have to say, first thing that jumps out is it is full of happy, smiling faces, which is lovely. Can you tell us a bit about it and how it all came about?
Yeah, Kitsy Camp was really the creation of my two children, Robbie and Jen, and just wanting to share my life with the ocean and diving with them. And I was very frustrated as a single mom back in 2000. It was really hard to find resorts or places where kids could be engaged in the ocean and the marine environment, or there weren't many programs that really allowed them to get in the water in the ocean and learn. And so I really wanted to create sort of a living classroom for them. And being a single mom, I wanted to create a real global view of what the world was like and what family was like. I think that became ever more important after September 11th. Um, it was a very difficult time for kids in the United States, and family became very, very important. And I think that our first Kids Sea Camp was in Curacao in the year 2001, and we had 7 families that came with their children. And each year it grew. The next year was 14 families, and then we expanded to Bonaire and Cayman, and it was just such an amazing concept where families were coming from all around the world, really, to enjoy the ocean. Parents were diving, kids were learning about all kinds of different marine environments and programs, and it's just evolved. Basically, my children really helped with that. We started with SASI and SEAL team. At the junior open water program went at age 10, and then we teach now 15 college accredited courses. We go all the way up to the PADI Pro courses. And what's been amazing is over the past 23 years, there's been so many kids that have made diving their career within marine sciences and environmentalists and biology studies. And the fun part about it is that we have quite a few really amazing young adults that now teach and travel with us at Kids Sea Camp.
That's fantastic. So you've been at it long enough to be able to see firsthand the effect it's had directly on families and their kids.
Yeah, we even have so many grandparents that used to come with their kids, and those kids are now parents with their own kids. So they're now grandparents that are coming. And it's funny, I asked the grandparents, what do you love most about Kids Sea Camp and taking your children on travel adventures? And they all say pretty much the same thing, that as they age, time becomes the most important thing with their grandchildren and their children, and they want to give them memories that will last a lifetime. So scuba diving with your grandchildren and your children really does create memories to last a lifetime and experiences off the beaten path, and it creates an amazing global view. And in one of my speeches for DEMA, I said a lot of people think that oceans divide us, but for divers, they connect us. You know, we are connected to children and families and friends from all around the world. And it's really the ocean that connects all those dots together. And it makes kids think globally instead of just locally. So they learn globally, but they act locally. So they're caring more about what's going down the drain. They're caring more about what their parents are purchasing at the supermarkets. They are actually the ones with, you know, reminding their parents to take the cloth bags with them and recycling. And it's amazing how this youth is really driving the force for a better tomorrow.
It must be interesting also the fact that kids and families coming from different parts of the world and getting together. So that must in itself broaden their horizons immensely, rather than just having kids or parents from the same school or area. To have this global effect must be really powerful for them.
It is extremely powerful. One of the things that we do at Kids See Camp is we have a whole bunch of stories that the families have written. I think we've published quite a few of them on our website on familydivers.com, and sometimes I publish them in the magazines that I write for. But some of the families that do travel with us are very privileged families, and those children they write about the open-mindedness, like when we go to Fiji and we go to the Philippines and they see the poverty level with those families that are there, that they don't have electricity all times of the day, that they don't have windows or the elaborate homes that we do. And it really humbles them. But also one of the things that's a common thread is they see how close those families are and how caring they are with each other, how respectful the younger children are with the elders, how they don't have a lot of financial wealth, but they've got a lot of wealth within love and respect within their family. And I think part of what we do with the weeks that we provide is we bring in that local culture. So they see those traditions, they see those cultures, and they have a better understanding of why a little village in Fiji matters to a child sitting in Miami, Florida. You know, why does it matter? And I think it also breaks down prejudices. It breaks down isms that really just are fabricated through, you know, too much virtual worlds in these kids today. I think one of the things that we strive to do is really unplug them from all their virtual outlets and reconnect them to each other and to their families. And I think that's one of the bright spots, the magic really in Kids See Camp, is that we can do that. You don't see too many kids on their cell phones when they're traveling and scuba diving with us.
do you actually allow them to have their iPads and phones at the camp, or is that just taken away for a week?
I think that they realize, I mean, we don't have any rules like that, but I think that it's amazing to watch the transformation from when they first arrive until it's time for them to go home, because they realize, you know, there's no replay. You're not going to rewatch what you're missing out today tomorrow, you know. So these kids they're enjoying scuba diving, and some of for example, in our Bonaire Kids See Camp, kids go blow karting, land sailing on one of the world's largest salt tracks. They go tubing, they go slacklining, they are on a antiquated sailing schooner that they have a sunset cruise on, and they can walk the plank. They're diving in beautiful turquoise water and with tarpon and big schools of fish, and they're learning about corals. And so, yeah, they just get off their cell phones. I think in the evening, what's really cool for me is they will get on their cell phones and they'll start posting, you know, photos from the day and videos. In Belize, they're swimming with loggerheads and they have nurse sharks around them like puppy dogs. And in St. Lucia on Chastenay, they're jungle biking and chocolate sensory tasting, and they're volcano hiking, and they're looking at the pitons and diving Superman's flight. And it's amazing the things that they do. In the Philippines, you know, how many kids get to dive with whale sharks in 35 feet of water with perfect visibility, or thresher sharks off Monard Shoal. And it's just amazing the things that they get to do. And not just with me. I mean, for me, I just want to encourage families to travel, to dive, and to be safe about it. I try to educate parents on how to pick really good dive vacations that are properly suited to their family's skill level and safety. And there's a lot of wonderful destinations out there that cater to all members of the family. So, for example, when we have grandparents, we take care of them a little bit differently than we do, you know, avid divers. Like, they're not lugging their tanks and changing their own gear. We handhold our grandparents, and we treat them with the respect of their elder years, and we make things easy and fun for them.
I don't know what to say. What amazing, amazing adventures these children. I wish I was a teenager again, and I'd come and join you.
You
It's
don't have to be a teenager. You
well, that's true.
can come and join us anyway.
Wow, if God, I'm just trying to think back if anything like that ever existed when I was younger, but no, not even close. I was thinking back, just what you were saying earlier about happy families and things. Having traveled most of the world, I think I can remember one family, and this is very typical. The happiest family I've ever seen were living in a little fishing village on a shack with nothing. And the kids were happy, the parents were happy, they loved each other, they looked after each other, and they were within that community. And for the kids that you're taking on to be able to witness that is just invaluable, wonderful.
Well, I think they realize the distractions, right? There's so much pressure for kids at school and sports and their busy everyday lives, that I think they realize when they arrive the first day, and all the kids are really the same. They're timid, they're, you know, they don't know anybody, but then there's this calm and relaxedness that happens where they just unplug. They don't have the pressures of their everyday life. I will say that one of the first trips we ran after COVID, the kids cried. I mean, they were hugging each other. They were sitting around and singing on the boat, and they were just, when we got them in the water on the first dive, they looked like they were doing just this Zen diving, because they were just so happy to be together, to be outside, and to actually be in nature, in an environment where they could just touch, feel, and be together in a way that they hadn't been able to be in almost 2 years. So I think COVID changed things in that aspect. The people that took that friendship and that socialness for granted don't take it for granted too much with when they travel with us. I mean, I'm sure some of that's going back the other way now, but we try to keep that very special. We try to create that calmness, that ease, that, you know, you're present in the moment. And I think that the families really appreciate that we can do that, because parents have very busy jobs and just everyday work that they're dealing with. And when they get home, you know, it's meal time, it's homework time. And so we try to just create this little bubble where the only thing that's really important is them being together, having fun, relaxing, learning new things, meeting new like-minded people, and really learning and enjoying the ocean. I think that that's been our theme, and it's worked really well. I mean, 23 years later, we've got over 80, almost 8,000, coming up on 8,000 certified youth divers. And we now have our empty nester travel program, which is because, like myself, my son is now 28, my daughter's now 26, and they're all grown up. And parents still want to travel with Tom and I. They still want to travel the world and seek adventure with us. So we have a whole empty nester program where we do the Maldives and we do Lembe. We're doing an Africa trip this May, and parents just love that. And then with our family dive adventures, which is just everyday dive travel, a lot of families just do their own individual vacations as well. And I work with dive shops. I love talking to dive shops about how to develop their own kids programs. I think it's really important for dive shops to know that they have to create a window for the future. Like, we are all aging out, and we have to invest in kids. We have to invest in the youth because they are our future. And I think the dive shops can easily, create programs for SEAL teams and junior open waters, and that creates gear revenue for them. It creates a community. A travel program is very easy to create. A lot of dive shops will say to me, well, Margo, what do I do with them once I get them certified? I mean, I'm not near the ocean. Well, then that's where you can develop your travel program. And, I think that it's just a little bit easier for people that have kids. I'm finding at DEMA this year, for example, a lot of young people are buying dive shops. I met more new dive shop owners this year at DEMA than any other year. And believe it or not, a lot of them are in their 30s or early 40s, and their parents. And I was just so elated by that. It's just like a breath of fresh air. And they are asking me, look, we want to bring kids into our dive shop programs. How do we do that? So I have hope. I have renewed hope. And I think the dive shops are really going to start growing the industry again. I think the new young parents that are coming in are going to be really focusing on that.
That is so good to hear. It's so good to hear because, I mean, especially here in the UK, for years and years, the age of divers has been increasing as we're all getting older, and nobody younger following through. So what you're saying is it's music to my ears. It's lovely.
I met one dive shop owner. I would say he's probably in his upper 40s. He just purchased 17 dive shops here in the United States, and he started with swim schools for kids. And I was so excited to meet him because I just am so excited when there's these dive shop owners that really believe in treating and training and educating kids and families. And it's really what we need for the dive industry. So like I said, it was just an exciting DEMA for me. I never had such an experience where I spoke to so many dive shops about kids programs and how to build them and how to create the travel programs. And I was so excited to just spend really most of my show time talking to parents and talking to dive shops about kids programs. And a lot of the bigger manufacturers weren't there, but the ones that were came right over to me and were like, Margo, what does the industry need for kids gear? What do we need? And I'm like, little masks for little faces and little fins and little wetsuits. And, we need those things. I think it's the saying of build it and they will come. But I've been very happy with the equipment manufacturers so far. They've done a great job. But I think educating families, really, they just don't know what's out there for kids. Like the SASSY program is for 4, 5, and 6 and 7-year-olds. And people don't even know that there's a program for little kids. SEAL team is 8 and 9-year-olds, and they can dive in a confined pool or lagoon up to 12 feet with an instructor. And then there's even a master SEAL program. PADI has a master SEAL program that gives them a 20-foot depth. We take SEALs to Palau. We take them to the Philippines. They actually get in the water with whale sharks. We have fun with those little kids. And the junior divers at 10 and 11, I mean, they are just they're like little sponges. I have more fun with the kids than I do with the parents, for sure.
I can understand that. Tell me, how do you finance all this?
I'm sorry?
How do you finance all this? How is it all paid for?
Well, I mean, it's a for-profit company. Kids Sea Camp is a for-profit company. I mean, I have very long-term relationships like with Paul Coolin and Michelle Coolin that own Buddy Dive. I've been working with Buddy Dive for 26 years this year. Carolyn Trubetskoy that has Ansha Stene and Jade Mountain. I've been working with her for 26 years. So I have really good, solid relationships with the resorts around the world that I have personally handpicked to be family friendly, very safe, and who I have trusted and made bonds with over the years. So there's really no financing. I mean, I charter a resort, or I charter a full liveaboard. I work with Explore Ventures. I think they're one of the most family friendly fleets in the industry. And Clay and I are actually really good friends. And I will call Clay up, or Sue Hamilton, who works with him, and I'll say, you know, we want to do the Red Sea. We're going to obviously do it with kids. I need A, B, or C in place. I need extra instructors. No problem. We're working with them right now as an example on a Palau liveaboard, and it's a gorgeous boat. It's absolutely beautiful, but there's only single beds. And so I said to Clay and Sue, I need a really big favor. This is huge. I'm asking them to remake their rooms and create at least 4 to 6 rooms where there's queen beds or king beds. I mean, who would do that for someone, right? But Clay and Sue are, again, not big box. They get it. They understand how important families and kids are. And we're working on it, Margo. And I think we might be able to have those cabins ready for you by the time your trip comes. So I just am really excited about working with the partners that we choose to work with. So again, it's not really financing. When I book charters, for example, we charter all of Turquoise Bay and Roatan, we put down a deposit and up on our website, and we're in a lot of magazines. I don't think there's anyone in the whole world that's doing what we do with kids. So unfortunately, I don't have competition. I really want competition. I will even help create competition. But I really want to, just emphasize that I think I have been able to do what I do because the dive industry is a very unique industry. And I think at the end of the day, we all help each other. We all realize how small our industry is. It's like what you're doing today. I write for several magazines and I provide content just because I think families out there want a source of where they can take their kids, how they can dive safely, what vacations can they go on. So I really don't want it to be all about me. I just want families and kids to be joining the dive industry and diving because the future of our oceans depend on it. And I think that the businesses that I work with, we all are like-minded. We all agree that we need to work together. So, like I said, the resorts that you'll find on my website make it possible. I mean, how would a little girl in Columbia, South Carolina be able to charter a $54 million resort? Trust me, it wouldn't happen unless I have that relationship. I mean, to me, my word is my law. I'm very transparent. I'm probably the most honest person I know next to my husband. And I really love the partners that I work with. I care about them. And we come together to make things work. I would say to you that the businesses that I work with, we're like family. I mean, Luigi with Airi Nui, we just booked 15 charters with him. And when COVID hit, we paid him way up in front to help keep him going, and we fulfilled all of our charters. We didn't have a single cancellation. Do you know that? I will tell you, we had over 350 reservations. No joke. We did not have a single cancellation. Every family rebooked, and as of this summer, every one of those families has taken their trips, and the majority of them have booked more. So again, I'm a business that I answer my phone. People can call my number, and Margo's sitting here, ready to talk with them. I think that it's just, we're a very special industry. I don't think there's anything like us in the world. I really, you can call and talk to Doug McNeish. You can call and talk to Drew Richardson. You can walk into a dive shop and speak to the owner. You can call the owner of a hotel. You have access and privilege that's just based on, a warm, fuzzy feeling that I don't think you have in any other industry in the world.
I'm sure you're right. I'm sure absolutely right. I certainly don't know of any other. Okay, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you're busy. But just one thing I wanted to ask you about, and it's an obvious thing with diving because divers of any age are the only people that are actually able to personally witness what is happening in the oceans, whatever age they are. And when I do dive with young people, I always feel secretly slightly sad that they're not seeing what I saw years ago because it's gone. Overfished, pollution, whatever the reasons. And one of the things I can't say to a young person is, oh, you should have seen it many years ago, because why would I want to depress them? They're having a great time. They've seen a turtle and they think life is wonderful. And it is, of course. Whereas 10, 20 years ago, they might have seen 100 turtles. What I do try and do is encourage them to see what they have now and try and move their thought processes to conserving and preserving what they have in whatever way they can do it. Do you actually tackle the conservation subjects in any depth, or do you just let it take care of itself in a way and let their interests foster themselves?
I think it's a combination of both of those things. Um, at our on the trips that we host, for example, Christina Zanato, I'm sure you must know who she is in the Bahamas. She's the shark dentist, and she does a lot for saving sharks and educating people about sharks. She came with us this summer to Belize, and it was fantastic to have her because she had all of these theses and ideas of behaviors and everything with the sharks in the Bahamas, but she got to experience a whole new behavior with sharks, the nurse sharks in Belize. She got to see the barrier reef. So I think that you are correct. There are places that you have been diving, or I have been diving, where it's gone. It's gone. It's not the same, and it may never be the same. But you also know that there are hope spots, as Sylvia Earle calls them, around the world that are thriving, that are doing really well. So when we take kids to Palau or the Philippines or Indonesia, and they see those beautiful, thriving corals, the soft corals, the hard corals, the marine environments that exist around those corals, they do learn what it should be like. They do see what it could be like, and it does phase them. I took a group of kids this year on the Eri Nui to Komodo. Those children had only ever dove Cayman Islands, Roatan, and Bonaire. When they got to Indonesia, they were overwhelmed with the magnitude of life and color and the marine environment. And it does inspire them to learn and to protect and to preserve and to ask questions. Why? And believe it or not, I have been able to find little nooks and crannies in the Caribbean, such as in Dominica and in St. Lucia, where there is a thriving macro environment, and where the stony coral disease has wiped out so many reefs. There's soft corals and sponges and sea fans growing in their place. I think that especially like in Roatan, where it was one of the first to be completely devastated by the stony coral disease, it's thriving again. The marine parks are taking care of their reefs. They're educating people. In Bonaire, you have to buy a wristband that supports the local marine, I think it's the reef renewal program. So I think that in itself, each of the resorts and the environments are educating people. I mean, I see it all over the world, even in the aquarium industry. People are sharing information about not collecting live rock, not only on the level of the consumer, but on the level in Fiji. There was a huge push, the MES Foundation trying to teach locals not to blow up their coral reefs and sell them as live rock, that these are protecting their islands. So I think it's just little tiny baby steps, but I believe it's getting out there. I believe that there's so many places on TV, on Netflix, on YouTube, where you can learn and you can see the whole transition of what you're talking about. And I think it's just, as parents, it's our obligation to make sure that our children are reading it, seeing it, experiencing it, and then doing something about it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Margaret, it's been great chatting to you. Thank you for taking the time. Say goodbye for now, but I hope we can catch up again sometime soon.
Oh, I hope so too. I could chat forever and a day. If you ever need anything, any questions that you have, or anybody that would like to, find out more about what they can do or where they can go, I'm always just, loving to provide information to anyone that would like to learn and grow.
Fantastic.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Thank you, Margot. Thank you.
Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it.